So, it continues. Hello there, welcome back to Max's Writing Advice Q&A. And tonight's episode I have a selection of questions sent by viewers just like you. Every week I take your questions from the comments down below and I toss them in a random number generator. And every week, 3 of them get picked to get featured on one of these writing advice Q&As. I always answer your questions, so if you have a writing advice question, especially one that is urgent, I will answer it. I am making it a point to reply to pretty much every comment that I get on these videos, so don't hesitate to leave a question. I will definitely add every question that you leave to the pool of questions, such as the ones that have made it into today's video. Some very, very interesting questions. Before I go on anywhere though, allow me to remind you, as always, that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who is still drinking coffee. What time is it? 1 in the afternoon? Yep, still drinking coffee. Anyhow. 3 questions, 3 minutes a pop. Let's take it from the top. Hey MK, I started a novel and I'm still in love with it, but circumstances beyond my control push me to take a huge hiatus from writing it. Another project almost seems foreign. I'm intimidated and I've considered going back and reading the whole thing to find the rhythm again, but I'm afraid I'll get caught up in editing, revising, and putting off the actual writing in general. Should I just plunge into the middle or take the time reintroducing myself to the project? I feel that I would personally go back and read it, because I feel that if I was in this situation, I would go back and read it. Mostly because I feel that too much time has passed, and I would need to find at least the voice of the characters or the protagonist again. But I'm saying this because I am really good at reading without forcing myself to edit or revise, and pushing myself to write. I'm not bragging, but I'm really good at just saying, okay, it's time to get writing done, let's do this. That's what I would do. But I feel that if you're concerned that maybe, just maybe, you will just keep putting off the writing, I partially feel that you might just be better off just jumping in. Honestly. The reality is that you know yourself better than I do, better than I will ever know you. You know yourself better, and you have to kind of follow your gut feeling in this sort of situations. But, caveat, you have to follow your gut feeling, but follow it all the way through. If you are going to pick up the story and you intend to finish it. Read through it, do not edit, stay stalwart, strong. What are you doing here? You want to learn about the way you wrote the story. You want to find the rhythm again. Do it, and don't do anything else. You can pretty much do that reading in an afternoon. No matter how long your book is, I'm pretty sure you can get it done in an afternoon, and then you'll be back into writing. Simple as that. Though, if you feel, again, that you won't be able to prevent yourself from editing and revising and getting stuck, then just start writing. Just jump in. If you're still connected, it's entirely likely that you remember. Then just jump in and do it, honestly. You have to trust your gut feeling, honestly. Most of the time, you're gonna have to trust your gut instinct. Follow your heart if you prefer a much more Disney-like parallel. And if you are a little bit scared, a little bit worried that it's gonna be too hard, it's gonna be really impossible to edit that gap between chapter 5 and 6, allow me to remind you, as always, that revision is your friend, and the revision is something that you must do. If you don't revise that story, it's never gonna get published. You have already spent so much time working on it, you gotta revise it, it's the only way. But you can do it. It is a journey with an end, and you will complete it. You just have to be brave and jump in, okay? Okay. As for the second question of the day, the focus, the centerpiece of today's video, it goes a little bit like this. I have slightly summarized it. I recently actually posted my response to this on Twitter, but I thought I would actually go a little bit further and explain some of my points. This question came from a longtime viewer, and I want to thank you for sending your question. I really appreciate it, and I am delighted in being able to help you. So let's take it from the top. What does a person who hasn't really had to deal with some of these things make adequate parallels, such as writing dark or gruesome or romantic or dangerous situations when you yourself has not had that experience? Let's talk about how can you write about something you yourself have not experienced? I think that it is completely human. It's completely human and understandable to feel as though how can I write about a character being tortured when I myself haven't actually been tortured? But the curious question is this. Let's say that you had indeed experienced what torture was like and you wrote about it. Don't mind the dog in the background. How can you expect then the reader to relate to something they themselves haven't experienced either? And this little logic problem brings with us a really simple writing solution. You see, I have never myself, as a matter of fact, been chased by an axe-wielding murderer. I have also never been tortured, and I've also never shot a fireball out of my hands or fingertips. But I do feel that if a writer was to describe these things to me and to show me what those characters were thinking and to walk me through their feelings and thoughts and emotions, I too would feel those things as vividly as them. This particular issue is directly connected to the concept of showing versus telling, or as we explained in a previous video a long time back, I should really make a full video on that. It's not show versus tell, it's description versus summary. Description is your friend. Description is the bridge that connects your story, the words on the page, with the reader's imagination, and by extension, their heart. If you describe what is going on, the reader will be able to piece it together in their heads, especially how the characters feel, how they are reacting, how they're experiencing these moments. All of these things, the fantastical, the horrific, the amazing, the awesome, the reader can relate to those things, even if they have never, ever been in a dangerous situation, if they've never done anything heroic, if they've never saved a life, or been at the brink of death. They can still relate to those things through the act of description, by allowing the reader to piece the rest of the image together in their mind. This here is what I like to refer to as the magic of writing. All you need to do is to describe to the reader what is going on, okay? Okay. For the final question of today's video, this question actually, I don't want to say it's a problematic question, but this is a question that is probably going to spark a nice conversation in the comments down below, and I would love to hear what you have to say, but you can't talk about it if I don't tell you about it, so let's take it from the top. The final question of today's video goes a little bit like this. I want to write a novel that deals with some controversial topics, that chooses a side that isn't typically the norm, and could potentially cause people to view me in a negative light, but I feel passionate about the story and the subject. Any suggestions? Well, simple answer, write whatever the hell you want. And that's it for this video. I want to thank you for watching. If you have questions for future videos, no, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. You should write whatever you want. I'm not gonna stand here and police what you should and should not be writing. The thing is this. You can write the most controversial story that you think you are writing. You may come up with the most controversial topic, the most obscure, least PC point of view you could possibly think of, and there will be people who won't even see it as that edgy. You could also write the most PC story that you could ever think of, and there will be people who may think it's a little controversial. We're dealing with other people's opinions, and as we've said on this channel countless times, you have zero control over the way people will react to your story. It really doesn't matter what you write. There will be people who will like it, there will be people who will hate it. Some of these people will have objective reasons, most of them will have entirely subjective reasons, and they're okay because that's their opinion and they're entitled to that. The reality is this: write whatever you want. If you're passionate about it, write it. If you want to do it, write it. I can't stop you. I definitely can't stop you. I'm just the disembodied image of somebody trapped inside of a video. Oh, that's really dark. That's a good story idea right there. My one caveat is this, because I kind of have to cover this, and I had to say this because every time that I've had this question come up, or this subject came up in conversation during creative writing courses, it came from, and I'm not saying you're this type of person, I'm just telling you my own experience. It came from the mouth of people who were trying to be edgy or deep. And my point of view is this: if you're writing about a controversial subject, if you're writing about something, I want you to inspect your feelings, why you're doing it, what you want to get out of it, and secondly, consider the overall message of this story. What are you actually saying? Not what your characters are saying, what you are saying with this story. The overall message that you're encouraging, endorsing through this book, through this story. And if you're okay with that. And question, are you saying this to be edgy, to sound deep, to be cool, or to give the middle finger to somebody out there? Because don't. the reality is this, and I'm not saying, and this may not be your case, and that's entirely okay, but every time I dealt with a writer that was doing this, you could tell in their writing what they were trying to do, because it's really hard to turn down the preachiness. You can feel it on the page. It might as well just be tar that is literally on the page. It stains everything, because it feels as though the story is secondary. The point is what comes first, and honestly, I can't stand that. I come to storytelling for the characters, to care about something, and as well to escape a little bit from the real world, to find respite from the reality that we live in, to step into somewhere else. And nothing gets me more out of the fantasy of reading a book than realizing that there's a speech going on, a sermon. That just super kills me. I don't pick up those books ever again. Once I can tell that someone's trying to say something with their book as opposed to just tell a story, I just drop it. Because you realize this story is just secondary. You just wanted to make a point, and everything else is just a justification for that. I'm not saying this is what you're doing. You probably are not. You seem really, you seem to be explaining this in a point that I don't think that's what you're trying to do, but this is not particularly for use for people who may be considering this. Don't. Just tell stories, honestly. And you also have to keep in mind that if you say something that you might not particularly agree with, or that you're not okay with people associating yourself with, then you kind of have to make that choice too. I'm not particularly gonna drop specifics, but like, if you're writing a story about a really, really dark subject and you don't agree with it, you don't even like agree with the point that your book is making, you may not want to write that because people will associate you with that, even if you didn't try to do it that way. And I'm saying all these things, and I'm not saying that your book can't have a meaning behind it or a message behind it, but this should be tertiary. It should come like third on the list of things that your story is trying to do. First and foremost, it should be an entertaining story. It should be something that the reader comes out of going, yeah, that was exciting, that was fun, that was a nice moment of respite. Now I can go back to whatever I was doing. My suggestions are to inspect your feelings. Consider the story that you're trying to tell, if you particularly agree with the overall message of it, and if you're okay with people associating you with this message. And move on from there. I don't want to tell you what you can and cannot do. This is all just my advice and my opinion. I've never liked reading a book and realizing, because I don't want to say that I'm really smart. I'm really astute and I can catch the hints. And when I realized, oh, this story is just someone's speech, because everything feels secondary to the speech, and I'm just like, it takes me out of it. And I dealt with a lot of this in college. I dealt with a lot of people who who do their 10 pages of writing a week, and like their 10 pages would be pretty much a monologue about whatever particular unpopular opinion they had, and it was always such a drag to read that stuff, because how am I supposed to give you like feedback on your character development and your narration and your description when you're literally just talking to the page about the things that you don't like? Anyhow, I've gone on way too long with this ramble. What I'm gonna say is this for the person who sent this question: respect your feelings, consider how you feel about them. If you're okay with the possible thoughts, or if the message that the book is presenting is not something you particularly agree with, or you're not particularly okay with people associating you with that message, you may want to think against it. Either way though, write whatever the hell you want, and if I may slide my own particular bias in this, make it about characters, make it about stories. Don't make it about the message. Make it the third thing down the list. Not the second, not the first, the third thing down the list. What is this story gonna achieve? First and foremost, to tell an engaging, fun, and exciting story. Okay? Okay. It's too darn late to be drinking coffee. I should stop. I have a problem. For the time being though, this video had a lot of really heavy hitting questions, and I would love to hear your own point of view in the comments down below, as well as questions for future videos. Remember that I will answer every question that you leave, and pretty much every comment that you leave below. So I do really appreciate what you have to say. For the time being though, I would like to remind you as always that if you enjoy my content and you would like to make sure that I can continue on making it for the foreseeable future, please consider pledging your support. I have a Patreon page where you can earn cool rewards such as getting to watch my videos early or getting DRM free early copies of my books. But if Patreon is not your cup of tea, how about buying me a cup of coffee? Links to all of these things in the description down below. But for the time being though, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll see you on the next one.